Some people spend their lives searching for the unknown, but for Al Santariga, the unknown has always been home. Born into a bloodline of psychics and intuitives, the paranormal wasn't a passing curiosity. It was his inheritance. Over decades, he's become more than a witness. He's an experiencer, an investigator, a researcher, a bridge between our world and the world just beyond the veil. His psychic abilities are clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairsentience, and more, which allow him to see, hear, and sense what others cannot. And through his work in cryptozoology, ufology, and countless paranormal investigations, he's uncovered truths that challenge everything we think we know. As founder of the Bronxville Paranormal Society, the New York State UFO Project, the Sasquatch Organization, and the Dogman Project, Al has devoted his life to exploring what others fear to confront. He's been profiled in magazines, appeared in documentaries, and lectured to audiences who seek answers to questions most are too afraid to ask. Now, Al, known as Squatchfather, invites you to step into his world, a place where shadows whisper, legends breathe, and reality bends, where the line between fact and folklore disappears, and the truth may be stranger than you ever imagined.
Wow, that was great. Thank you. That was amazing.
Oh, wonderful. I'm so glad you like it, Al. I'm so blessed and pleased to have you with us. Everyone that is joining in, let me put the live chat up. So glad to have each and every one of you. Let's see. For some reason, where is it? Okay, now it's showing. Okay. Before we begin, guys, I would like to have Al to explain to you some of his background, some of his education, or things that he's been interested in, things that maybe he's worked on, and kind of give a little bit of his childhood history with the paranormal before we actually start diving deep within this. All right, Al, take the show. Let us know some about you. Who are you, Al?
Okay. Hello, everybody. My name is Al Santariga, aka the Squatchfather. Paranormal in my house was normal growing up. My mom was a psychic, and she would talk to people all night long while she was sleeping. They would come to her in her sleep. So that was just, normal in our house. I had an aunt who was a white witch and a cousin who was a black witch. And I had my first ghost experience at 5 years old, who was my grandmother. My grandmother passed away, and she was across the street at the funeral parlor. And back in the old days, we used to do it for 3 days. And for 3 days in a row, she came in every night and she tucked me in, and she only spoke Italian. So she would talk to me in Italian. I wasn't scared. I was confused because I just left her across the street. I couldn't understand why I was seeing her again, but I wasn't scared of her. It was my grandmother. And I would tell my mom, and my mom would say, okay, it's fine. Just don't tell your father. And at 10 years old, I had my first UFO experience. And at 12 years old, I had my the first UFO experience was in New York. And at 12, I had my first Bigfoot experience down in South Florida. So the paranormal just kind of followed me around. My brother was one of the first parapsychologists in the United States. And he had his room was basically a library of the paranormal. Everything there was to know about the paranormal, or had questions on. If I had any questions, I would just go in his room and take a book. He was being mentored by Han Holzer's right-hand man. So he was going out with Han Holzer's right-hand man, and he was going out with Han Holzer's psychic, Ethel, I believe her name was. And later on in life, I got to meet Alexandra Holzer, and we became really good friends, and she's a great person. And, as kids, not my parents, but my family would do seances. they wouldn't play with Ouija boards or anything like that, but they had tarot cards and they had crystal balls and stuff like that. And I remember as a kid creeping down the hallway. They put us to sleep early one night, and me and my cousin Anthony creeped down the hallway in the dark because the house was really dark, and the candelabra was dancing. And the flames are going up high and coming down low and answering or getting they're asking all kinds of questions and getting all kinds of answers. And I remember being blown away by that. And I didn't experience that for like 50 years later when we were doing an investigation up here at the Beekman Arms. It's a 250-year-old inn. It's the oldest inn in the United States. And everybody and their mother has been there since, George Washington to Bon Jovi. A lot of people who went to Chelsea Clinton's wedding was there, stayed there. And we were down in the slave kitchen. And the psychic guy would put a candelabra on the mantelpiece of the fireplace and ask questions, and that candelabra was dancing, and that would like flash me back to when I was like 10 years old, growing up in my family's homes and stuff. So yeah, it's been a wild ride. I've experienced everything under the sun that you can imagine. Every time I go out and I say, my psychic always tells me what I'm going to see before I go. She'll call me. I won't tell her anything. She's in Arkansas. She's Native American. And she'll call me and she'll say, okay, where you going? Because I'm seeing this, I'm feeling that. And I was like, okay, I'm going here, I'm going there. And she'll say, you'll see this. And she tells us the craziest things. I swear to God. And there's times I'll say to her, Sandy, what the hell are you smoking? And I never, ever go out looking for what she says we're going to see. I don't. I just go out there and whatever happens, happens. And at the end of the night, when we check all the boxes, everything she says was going to happen always happens. Every single thing. She's amazing. She's never wrong. And I love her to death. And we bicker like a married couple because we've been working with each other for so long now. So we bicker like a married couple. But she's really, really great. And I'll tell you, not that I think I've seen it all. I don't want to say that. I don't want to sound arrogant like that. But I like when I go out thinking, okay, what else can I possibly see? Or something always happens that just wows me. Like, okay, that was new. That was different. That was interesting, And it's it's mind boggling. I mean, and it doesn't matter if I'm doing a UFO thing, ECE5 or something like that, or if I'm going ghost hunting, which is a term I hate really because I'm not hunting anything. I'm just investigating, or if I'm out there researching the Sasquatch people. It's just we always experience something that we've never experienced before, and that's what keeps me going out. You know what I mean? It's like, wow, that's amazing. Like last night, I was just in my backyard. I picked up some new equipment. I said I wouldn't buy any more equipment because I got like 30 bags of equipment, and I picked up 2 new things this year, and one for Father's Day, one for my birthday. And last night I was in the backyard playing with them, So I'm looking forward to going out again this summer and getting out in the woods and investigating. And and I tell people all the time, especially a lot of my friends were just Bigfooters, and they come from the side where they're just flesh and blood, big monkeys. And I tell them all the time, I was like, listen, I don't care what you believe. You can believe whatever you like if that's what you think they are. Just do me a favor when you go out in the woods, protect yourself physically and spiritually, because there are things in the woods besides cryptid creatures or the creatures that you're looking for that when you come across them are going to blow your mind. I tell people all the time.
Yes.
I tell people all the time, Al, you got to take me out. I want to see one. I want to do. It's like, Okay, but if we have that up close and personal experience, let me explain to you. Your brain is not going to be able to comprehend what your eyes are seeing because these creatures are so big and so massive that your brain is just going to shut down. And I said, and everybody handles things differently, and I
Mhm.
make sure that no one brings any firearms with us when we go out. Just bear spray, a survival knife, and maybe a machete, because sometimes you got to cut through some thick bush to get to these locations because they're off the beaten path. They're not, you're not going to find a hot spot right on the Appalachian Trail. You're going to have to go a mile up the mountain to find it. So, you need the proper equipment to go out there, and I like to take people under my wing, and I have people ask me all the time, should I bring this? Should I do that? And I was like, listen, um, what I tell people all the time, and it doesn't matter what you're investigating. There's a common thread to all of these experiences. They're all connected. And I said, when you go out, bring two, if you're going to do EVPs, bring two recorders from different manufacturers because each manufacturer sets up the recorders on different frequencies. And what you miss on
Oh,
one, you can catch on the other. So always bring at least two and not two of the same, two different. I know a lot of guys, especially in the ghost investigation field, they're stuck on one type of recorder and they'll have like four of the same thing. And I just shake my head. It's
okay.
like, dude, you don't know what you're missing because all of those recorders are set to the same frequency. What else are you missing? We were out on an investigation one time and we did a Native American powwow ceremony. We're out in doing Bigfoot research. And I was with a guy who was an alphabet agency guy. He said, Al, take me out. I want to see one of these things. I said, okay,
Mhm.
just me and you. We'll go out. And we did a Native American ceremony. I like to do flute music. It kind of relaxes me. So I like to do Native American flute music. It's my thing. So I played the Native American flute music, and I had my camera going, my digital, my recorder recording. I had the digital voice recorder recording, and the digital voice recorder recorded my ceremony that I played. But my camcorder, my video recorder, recorded a drum ceremony that was going on at the same time that we didn't hear. And when we went to do the evidence review, the FBI guy was there with us. And when he heard that drum ceremony, he fell off his chair. He's like, Al, you didn't play drums, you played flute. I was like, yeah, this was going on simultaneously with the flute, but it was coming in at a different frequency. We couldn't hear it, but the recorder picked it up. It was amazing. That was just mind-boggling.
That's great. That's just so fantastic to catch something like that.
Yeah, and
Oh,
then I like to do after I do my recordings. I like to do a 360 with my little digital camera and see what I capture. And before I played the music, I did a 360, and I got nothing on my camera. After the recording, after I did my ceremony, I caught hundreds of orbs all around me, different colors, different sizes, with faces in them. And I think that was the Native Americans who were doing the drum ceremony.
really?
Oh, it was
Oh,
amazing.
wow.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Oh, the faces. That's incredible to me. How big were the orbs?
All different sizes. They were from size of golf balls to the size of softballs. Not, I don't think anything bigger than a softball, but they were all around us. I mean,
Wow.
we were surrounded by orbs that wasn't there 2 minutes before I played that ceremony. Yeah. And again,
Nice.
when the FBI guy seen the photographs, the slides, and here's the first one. There's nothing in it. we play the music. Here's the second one, and we're just all, and they were all different colors, you know, and with beautiful colors too. And just like I said, there was your drum ceremony. They carried the flute ceremony, and they came in and joined in, you know, because the sacred site that I researched, my psychic says that at one point it was built by white men, she said, in robes thousands of years ago, because it's about a mile up the mountain and it's on a high plateau, and it's got giant megalithic stones set up in a circle, and it's got hundreds of other stones on top of the megalithic stones. As a matter of fact, I called Dr. Rita Louise one time when we found the site, and I asked her, I said, Doc, what do you think this is? And she says, Al, where are you, in Ireland or England? And I'm like, no, we're in New York. And she's like, that's definitely a megalithic site, you know? And then what my psychic said is that whoever the white people were that built it, when they left, the Native Americans took it over. And she also said that the aliens would come down there as well. They would see the Sky Brothers come down to this site. And now that the Native Americans are no longer in this area, they're a little further up north in the Catskill Mountain Range. I'm on the southern tier of that. The Sasquatches have taken it over, and she calls it a sacred site. And yeah, it's an amazing site. And I've never had a bad experience there, but I've taken a lot of people over the years, and none of us had really had a bad experience, except one researcher that I brought there who, it was a weird day. We walked in, it was 80 degrees. It was sunny, beautiful day. I like to do day night because I like to see how the energy changes when the sun goes down and the moon comes up and all of that stuff. I'm very big into environmental readings. And I'm also very big into amplifying those readings with like Tibetan singing bowls and stuff like that. I put these different frequencies out there, you know, and everything changes. Frequency and readings change. And I was there with a friend of mine, and it was a beautiful sunny day, and we were there for maybe a couple of hours, and then all of a sudden the clouds rolled in and the wind started swirling counterclockwise, and the trees were swirling counterclockwise. And I had seen a Sasquatch run across the western ridge, and I'm calling him, come over here. I just seen a Sasquatch run across the road. I think it was a scout came down to see who was at the sacred site. And he was like in the middle of the sacred site, like he was stuck. And he was like, Al, what's this thing? What's this thing above me? And he seen, like, at first he said it looked like a black bird swirling down towards him. But then once it got like middle of the tree down, it turned into smoke. And then it swirled back up and it disappeared. And I was like, dude, I have no idea what that is, right? And then I broke out my dowsing rods, okay? Because again, I like to go old school, new school. And I broke out the dowsing rods, and he had never used them before. I let him use them. And when he felt the energy go through his body on the dowsing rods, he was really blown away. He was like, wow, this is amazing. But the crazy thing was, no matter where I went at that sacred site with the dowsing rods, they always turned back to him. And he was like, what does that mean? Why do they keep turning back to me? I put a compass down at the bottom of his foot, and it spun like a top. And he's like, Al, what's going on? And I was like, dude, this never happened to anyone else I've ever brought here. You know, it was a crazy, crazy night. And even when he grabbed the dowsing rods, they just turned in on him, you know, and he was like, what's going on? And then something attached to him, because he got so cold. He got cold to his core. And he put on this heavy, heavy hunting jacket, and I gave him hand warmers to put inside his pockets, and you know what I mean? And I was standing outside with a little down vest. I didn't even have a coat on, just a vest, because I was sweating, and he was freezing. And we were supposed to stay there that whole night and investigate. And he was going to sleep over at my house because he lives like an hour and a half away. And he's like, I think it's time to go. We should leave. So, because he couldn't get warm. And I was like, okay, you're cold to your core. Let's leave. And as we came down off the mountain, the high plateau, we get down a mile down the mountain to the Appalachian Trail. We get out to the lake. There's a 52-acre lake there. It's a beautiful lake. And all of a sudden, the sun comes out. He gets beautiful again. He's nice and warm. And I'm like, dude, do you want to go back? And he's like, no, I just want to go home, you know. But he, you know, he likes to go all around the country and see what the different Sasquatches do in different parts of the country. And at one point, he was down in South Florida in the Green Swamp. And when he came home from Florida, he brought something negative with him. And I had to send over an exorcist and a psychic to his house to cleanse him and cleanse his house, because his grandchildren who lived with him at the time were seeing monsters in the hallway.
Oh no.
So I don't know if what happened to him that day had anything to do with maybe the residue from what was ever attached to him before that, because I made sure he was cleansed before we got there, you know, and but it could have had some residue of some negativity on him, and what was ever in the woods that day seen it, was attracted to it, and just wrapped itself around him, and that's why he was so cold to the core. But and he's been all over. He's been to Colorado, he's been to Alabama, he's been to New Mexico, he's been to Florida. And the one thing he's realized is, and I keep telling him, why are you going all over the world to find these things when you have them in your backyard? I said, they do the same thing everywhere. But he had to find that out himself. And he's like, oh, his aha moment was, Al's right. They do the same thing everywhere, you know? And, but I mean, he's lucky enough to be able to travel like that and go all over. And I mean, I guess that's a nice, fun adventure, you know what I mean? But I just don't understand why you would go somewhere and roll the dice. Maybe you're going to have an experience when you could just go out your back door and go into the woods behind your house and know you're going to have an experience, you know? So
exactly. So,
yeah,
this is just so fascinating. So you were saying that, you know, as a child that you experienced ETs.
yes.
Can you tell us? I mean, do you feel comfortable, first of all, talking about that?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I've discussed this before. Absolutely. Yeah. So 10 years old, my best friend Richie was sleeping over my house. It was summer vacation from school. My father had an A-frame garage, and one side faced south towards New York City, the other side faced north. And we used to go up on the garage because my father had a grapevine, and he was always like under the grapevine drinking wine and having clams on the half shell with the neighbors and everything. So we would go up on the roof of the garage and get above them, and we'd put like the local rock station on, and we'd sky watch. You know, sometimes we'd bring binoculars up with us, but we would listen to rock music and sky watch. And one night we're up on the roof sky watching, and I see these 3 points of light dancing in the sky, but they're way up there, man. They look like stars, right? So I go, hey, Rich, check this out. So I point them out to him, and he looks at them. He goes, oh, wow, what do you think they are? So I don't know, but I have an idea. I jumped off the roof. I went to my father's garage. My father had this big spotlight. He used to take fishing with him at night, and he would put it in the water, and the crabs would come right up to the light. And that's how he crabbed that night, you know? And so I took this giant spotlight, and I went up on the roof, and I did a Morse code. And they did a Morse code back. One of them did a Morse code back. So Rich said, let me try. So then Rich did a Morse code, a little bit different than mine. And again, they did a Morse code back. So then I said, let me see that damn thing. And I did another one. And the third time we did it, one of the UFOs dropped down out of the sky. It went from looking like a star to just high enough over the air traffic that was coming out of the city, just above the plane, the lanes. And of course, we were 10 years old. We jumped off the roof. We ran into my bedroom. We hid under the bed. We slept under the bed in sleeping bags that night, And when my father came in, get us in the morning for breakfast, and he didn't see us on the bed. He opened and lifted up the bed, and he seen us sleeping under there, and he grabbed us by our ankles and he pulled us out. And he goes, "What the hell are you guys doing under the bed?" And we said, "Oh, the UFOs came down last night." And he's like, "Oh, I don't want to hear about this nonsense," But right after that, I started waking up with nosebleeds, terrible nosebleeds, blood all over the pillows, blood all over the walls. And then I started sleepwalking. And one night I come out of my bedroom and I'm sleepwalking across the living room floor, and I'm taking high steps like I'm going up a ladder, And my mother and father are up late and they're watching Johnny Carson. And my father goes, "Well, where are you going?" And I said, I'm going home. He goes, "Oh, really?" He goes, "Where's home?" I said, "The moon. I'm from the moon." I told him, "I'm going home," And he spun me around, kicked me in the ass. I go back to bed, And the next morning he was telling me about it. And I thought he was pulling my leg. I asked my mother. My mother said, "Yeah, you said you're from the moon. You were going home last night, And I was like, "Well, I don't know. I mean, I have that. I have that little Morse code thing with the UFOs, and then I'm having bloody noses, and I'm sleepwalking, and I'm talking about going back up to the moon and stuff." And I think that's when it really started. And there's a lot more. I mean, over the years, I've been abducted at least twice. You know what I mean? Or I was in the process of being abducted twice. The first time, my daughter was like 10 and my son was like 8 or 6. And it was Halloween, and we just did the whole neighborhood, which is like 1,000 houses, right? We get home, we're tired, it's cold. I tell the kids, "Go to bed, you'll eat your candy in the morning." And we're laying in bed. Oh, I should reference this. Before Halloween, I was seeing UFOs everywhere. I called my brother in Michigan. I said, "Frank, I think I'm losing my mind. I'm seeing UFOs everywhere. Take a camera with you." And every time I took the camera out to take a picture, I couldn't get a picture. The camera never worked. Then I had terrible headaches, and I went to the doctor for like a month. They tried everything. Nothing worked. And he said, "We're going to have to do a spinal tap on you because we can't figure it out." And the week before I was supposed to get the spinal tap done, there was a Native American powwow at one of the local parks. So I took the kids to the powwow, figuring to go out for a nice day, right? And I'm walking with my son in the stroller. I got the dark sunglasses on because my head is killing me. And as I'm walking past one of the booths, this little Native American guy comes out of the booth and he says, "You have something dark attached to you." He says, "If you want, I can take it off you." And I was like, "How much is this going to cost me?" And he's like, "No, it won't cost anything. I'll take it off you." So I told my wife, I said, "Take the kids. I'm going to go in this booth with this guy. Let's see what happens, right?" So I go into this little booth. He closed the curtain. There's another Native American there banging on a bongo drum, tom-tom. And he starts with the sage. And there was so much smoke in the room. It looked like the room was on fire. And he's dancing around me, chanting. And the guy on the tom-tom, and it was surreal. It was like an out-of-body experience, okay? And at one point, I hear him digging around in the back of the room. I hear him moving rocks in the drawer. And he put a rock in a leather pouch. And he said, "Wear this rock and wear this pouch." He said, "As long as you wear this, nothing can attach to you." So I said, I go outside, and now the sun is out, and my headache is gone. And I never needed the spinal. Whatever he did, he got rid of it, right? So now that was amazing. That was in September. October rolls around. We're going high. My daughter is Dorothy from The Wizard of Oz. That day. My son is a little pirate. We put him up. We bring him back up. After we trick or treat, we put him to bed. We go to sleep. It's freezing cold that night. The heat is pumping. I'm sweating bullets. I take this thing off my neck. I never take it off, but I'm sweating so much that I took this pouch off my neck and I put it on the dresser. Put on the dresser. I'm laying in bed. I got a 125-pound canine German Shepherd sleeping at the foot of my bed. And I'm sleeping, and then all of a sudden, I wake up, and there's a light coming through my room. But the shades are down, the curtain is down, and the light's coming through the room. And now I'm out of my body. I'm on the dresser of my bed. I'm in the headboard of my bed, and I'm looking down at me. And there's 3 tall gray aliens in the room, and they're levitating me, and they're taking me towards the window. And I'm thinking, first of all, why isn't this dog ripping him a new asshole? Number one, I paid a lot of money to get this dog trained. And number two, how are they going to get me out of the window? The windows are closed. It's freezing, and I'm having these thoughts like, how are they going to get me out? Meanwhile, they're taking me out. They're guiding me out. And as they're guiding me out the window, my daughter screams in the next room. Bloody murder, my daughter screams. Right? Now, I'm back in my body. The aliens are gone. The dog is the first one up. He's running into the kids' room. My wife is behind the dog. I come in, and my daughter is wrapped around my son's legs, holding him down on the bed. And I go, Amanda, my son has no idea what's going on. He's crying hysterical because his sister is holding him down. And he just woke up out of a deep sleep with his sister on top of him. And I go, Amanda, what's going on? And she said, Daddy, a light came into the room. And then Dorothy came in through the light and told me that they're going to take Nicholas to the light, but they'll bring him back before the morning. Everything will be all right. And my daughter said, no, you're not taking my brother. And she had a tug of war with him. But the aliens showed themselves to her as Dorothy, so she wouldn't be afraid, because she was Dorothy that night for Halloween. But they showed me who they really were, And so we put the kids to bed. We put the dog in between both of the kids. We tell them to go to bed. It was just a bad dream. We go back to sleep. Next morning I wake up and I said to my wife, did that really happen last night? And she says, yeah. So I said, okay. So now the kids can't get down fast enough to get to the candy, you know what I mean, from the night before. I kind of drag behind everybody. And I remember the Native American telling me, whatever you do, don't take this stone out of the pouch, because it'll lose its healing power if you touch it with your hands. I opened up the pouch and I dropped the stone on the bed, and I pick it up with a napkin. And to my surprise, it's a stone. It looks like a sandstone to me, right? But it's got a long head, an elongated head. It has 2 eyes, a nose, and a mouth on it. And if you hold it sideways, it looks like one of those skulls from Peru, those elongated skulls.
Yes.
And I'm like, what the hell is this? So I put it back in the pouch without touching it. I put the pouch back on. The following year, I made a point to get him going back to that Native American powwow. So I go there and I find the promoter, and I say, hey man, there was an old I called him a shaman. He told me he was a shaman. So there was an old shaman in the booth over here last year. Where can I find that guy again? He looked at me like, what are you talking about? I said, there was an old shaman here last year. He did a cleansing on me. He took some dark shit off me. And he goes, dude, he looked at me and he said, first of all, he goes, we don't have shamans. We have medicine men. So if someone told you they were a shaman, they didn't know what they were talking about. Second of all of our medicine men are in the back of the field with the teepees, with the what do you call it? The older guys, right? I forgot what they call them. The elders, right? With the elders. So I go to the back of the fair, and I sit down with the elders, and I explain to them my story, and they're like, they're all in, because there's like 5 or 6 different tribes there, and they're all interested in hearing this, and each one calls out their medicine man that comes out, and I say, I think it's a sandstone, and I let them look at it. I'm not a gemologist. I don't know what these stones are. And he looked at it, and he said, no. He says, this is a tiger's eye. He said, and we don't use tiger's eye. Tiger's eye is only used in South America, where there are shamans, or in the Far East. He said, we have medicine men, and we don't use tiger's eye. So I'm like, well, then who was the old dude who cleansed me last year? Because he definitely took something dark off of me, you know? And they're like, we don't know. So I don't know if it was another alien or what, you know what I mean? I don't know who that old guy was. But it was, and to this day, I still have that stone. I may have it in my desk right now. Let me see if I have it here.
So wild.
Yeah, see if I could show it to you. It's amazing stone. This is still the original pouch too. This leather pouch. Now let's see if I can hold it up on the right angle. Oh, where am I? You see how that head is elongated? Now look at the face. You see the face?
Do. Oh my gosh. It is like the ones in Peru. That's
right?
No joke.
Isn't that crazy?
Wow.
Yeah, it's wild.
Oh my goodness.
You want to hear another wild story about this stone? Okay. Yes. I was doing a shoot for the Travel Channel. It was called Alien Invasion of the Hudson Valley. Okay. And I told them where to go to shoot, because the location they wanted to go to, it hasn't had any action in years. And they fought me on it because they were from California. They knew they knew everything. And I was like, dude, I'm from New York. I know where to go. I know where I investigate, go here. So we go to the shoot. We're in the middle of the woods around this lake, and we get a mother craft come in, and we get a couple of small crafts come in. But I got this necklace on me, and I'm showing it I'm telling the experience that I just told you, and I'm showing everybody on TV the stone. I go to put the stone back in the pouch, and I drop it, and it goes through the table onto the ground, and there's nothing but millions of leaf litter. Oh, this is in the fall. So I got the whole crew looking for this stone, and we can't find it. And I'm depressed. Now I'm depressed. I just lost this stone. I do the shoot. The shoot went off without a hitch. It was a great shoot. They loved me. They call me back all the time. They wanted me to go out to Roswell last year and do a shoot, but my partner had a heart attack, and I had to cover work. There was no one to cover, so I couldn't go. But so now I'm very, very pissed. I'm pissed. I'm depressed. I lost this stone. I still have the pouch. I have a vest downstairs that I take with me when I go on ghost investigations. I have stones in it, all little pockets with flashlights and all kinds of stuff. I threw the empty pouch in one of the top pockets of the vest. I threw the vest over a heavy leather chair that I used to sit in. I used to do my interviews downstairs in the dining room. Now I'm upstairs, and upstairs I got the whole upstairs to myself. And I'm sitting there, and I'm in the kitchen doing something, and I hear bada boom. I hear the chair fall over. Now, my cats, I got 2 cats. They're like 7 pounds each, right? They can't jump on that chair now. This is a big, heavy leather chair. So I go out to the dining room, and my chair is flipped over. Like, how the hell did this chair get flipped over? There's no way. I pick up the chair, and as I go to pick up the chair, I go to pick up the vest to put it back over the chair, and the pouch falls out of the vest pocket because I had it in the top pocket. And when I open up the pouch, the stone is in it.
No.
Like, God strike me dead right now if I'm lying to you. I'm telling you, the stone came back.
So what do you think happened there? I mean, do you have like any idea, like any thoughts about that? Like, did you jump timelines or
I don't
what?
know if it was my spirit guide who brought the stone back to me, or the universe who felt like that stone is attached to me forever now, and the universe brought it back. But I'm telling you, I lost this little tiny stone in the middle of 1,000-acre woods, and nobody, not even all those guys with the cameras and those big spotlights, no one could find it, and it made its way back to me.
Well,
My
that is
God.
incredible.
Yeah,
That
it's just, I mean, it's just nuts. I mean, you can't make this shit up. You know what I mean?
no, you can't.
I swear to God, I'm not making it up. Yeah, it's absolutely nuts, man. Yeah, this is the kind of shit that happens to me. You know what I mean? So no matter where I go, when I go out, we always experience stuff. Doesn't matter who I'm with. The people that I tend to associate with are they radiate at a high frequency. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
they're very sensitive. You know, they have a lot of psychic abilities. Like I said, I don't claim to have any abilities, but I get messages. I have, like I said, I don't know who the voice is in my head, but it tells me to do stuff. And when it does, I listen because it's usually right. You know, I had a UFO flying over my house for a month once, right? Last November, I felt my wife seen something out the window. She's going to close the curtain, and she seen something yellow in the window. She goes, "What the hell is that?" So I said, it's probably Venus. It's always Venus. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
she said, "Well, it looks really low." So I went out there. Now I'm a stargazer. I have apps on my phone that tell me where the constellations are, where the planets are, all kinds of stuff, right? So I go out on the front deck, and I put the phone up to the what you call it, where this light is, and I'm going through the constellations. It's nothing. I'm going through the planets. It's not Venus. It's no. So now I start filming it, and it starts moving around and dancing and this and that. And I filmed it. Then it come back again the week after, and I filmed it again. Then the third time it came back, I filmed it in full spectrum, IR, thermal, and regular light. And this was an aha moment for me. It showed up in every spectrum of light except thermal. It didn't give off any heat except thermal. So I don't know what kind of propulsion system this thing had, but it wasn't putting off any heat. And I couldn't believe that I was looking through the thermal camera and it was invisible to thermal. I just couldn't believe it because I'm so locked in just thinking that everything gives off heat. You know what I mean? Everything's got to show up in thermal. No, it doesn't.
Yeah.
This was an aha moment. Yeah, it doesn't. And then one morning, I'm going to work 4:30 in the morning. I'm half asleep. I'm tired. Now this thing usually shows up between 7 and 8 o'clock at night. I'm going to work 4:30 in the morning, and it's there waiting for me. And I'm like, oh no. I said, I'm too tired for you, man. I got no patience for you. I gotta go to work. And the little voice said, stop. This is important. Film it. So I take out my phone. I start filming, and the voice in my head says, ask it to acknowledge you, give you a sign, but ask it telepathically. So I asked it telepathically to give me a sign. And what I thought was a flash, it looked like a flash to me when I was filming it. After I took the phone down and rewind it to see what it looked like, the craft actually, I can send you the video if you want. The craft actually expanded like 10 times its normal size and then shrunk down. It was crazy. When I got to work, I was so amped up. I was bouncing off the wall. You know what I mean?
Oh,
Yeah, it
I
was
bet.
absolutely crazy. It was absolutely crazy. And I started doing this more lately on investigations, asking questions telepathically, was in a stone. We have these ancient stone chambers up here in New York, right? Nobody knows who built them. They're thousands of years old. They have giant megalithic stones. And I was doing an day night. I like to do day night. And during the day, again, I've been going a lot of old school stuff. Okay. As a matter of fact, I was on an investigation with John Zaffis, the haunted collector, and
Wow.
and I was pulling out all my old school stuff, right? And John, because everybody had all their high tech stuff, right? And John looked at my stuff and he goes, "What's this, like 1973?" You know? And I go, "I'm tired." I said, "I'm tired of all the high tech stuff. I'm going back to 35 millimeter cameras, Polaroid film, you know, dowsing rods, quartz crystal pendulums, compasses. I'm going old school again, you know." So he started laughing. So anyway, I'm filming in these chambers and I'm asking questions during the day. You know, I got my pendulum. I'm saying, do this, do that. The pendulum's doing it. I go in and I'm asking questions verbally. Make the dowsing rods cross this way, that way. Make the compass spin backwards instead of forwards. You know. And then we went back at night. I went back at night and I did it again at night. But when I did it at night, the little voice in my head said, "Stop. Tie the quartz crystal pendulum to the tripod on the camera. Put the tripod in the chamber, step outside, film, and ask it to do stuff telepathically." And everything I asked it to do telepathically, it did. So whatever I'm dealing with, whether it's alien, Bigfoot, or ghost related, they can hear our thoughts.
Yes, I would love to expand on this because this is so interesting to me because the way you're describing the thoughts in your head, the voices in your head, that's exactly how it happens to me. I'm also an extraterrestrial experiencer.
Okay.
So it's very, very interesting. Now I feel like I know I can't speak for you, but for myself, I feel like that sometimes it is extraterrestrial that we were being guided by because it's different than I know there's a fine line between schizophrenia and being psychic, having open abilities, but here's the thing: the difference is for me, and it sounds like for you as well, that when we're told to do something and we do it, it's like something manifests from it. It's amazing. It's absolutely incredible as long as we listen.
Yeah. Yeah. And I always listen to that little voice in my head. Like I said, I don't know if it's my spirit guide. I don't know who it is. I had a what do they call that? An ascension, right? One day I was sleeping. I was in bed sleeping, and all of a sudden I felt like I was out of my body and I was being pulled up to the heavens. Okay. And something was behind me, pushing me, talking to me, but I couldn't see whatever it was. I couldn't see it. And as we're going up, we're on a rainbow bridge, and it's the most purest colors you ever seen. Just absolutely beautiful colors, just like you've never seen colors so pure. And I'm being brought up this rainbow bridge up into the heavens, and I'm seeing mathematical equations. I'm seeing music notes. I'm seeing Einstein and Bach and Beethoven and Tesla, and I'm seeing all these people going by me, and I'm like, what the hell is going on? Where are you taking me? And the voice says, I'm going to tell you the secrets of the universe tonight. And I was like, oh. I'm like, okay. So now we get to the end of the universe and we start to come back down the bridge. And as we're coming down, I'm waiting for this guy to give me the secrets of the universe. And I could see my house. I'm getting closer. And I'm like, come on, man, hurry it up. I don't want to wake up and not know the secrets, And he says to me, these are the secrets of the universe: frequency, vibration, consciousness, and intention. He says, okay. He says, so now I'm just about to go back into my house, like I'm at the roof of my house, and I say to this guide, man, that was the craziest dream I ever had, And he stops me, and we stop dead in midair. This isn't a dream. This is really happening. And he says to me, when the snow melts in the yard, you'll see the sign. What sign? You'll see the sign. Now, at this point, we had 16 inches of snow in the yard. So the snow melts, and I go on the yard, and I got 2 yards. I got an immediate backyard, and I got a far backyard. And I look in the immediate backyard, I don't see anything. So I go into the far backyard, and there around a tree, I want to say it's a maple tree or something, are giant quartz crystal stones set up in a circle around this tree. Now, I've run the woods. I got 100 acres of woods behind my house, and I've gone up in those woods with my kids when they were small. You know what I mean? And I've never seen any quartz stone anywhere, okay? And I'm looking at these quartz stone, and the voice says, touch the stone. So I touch the stone, and then the voice says, touch the tree, and I touch the tree. And I feel the energy from the stone going through me and into the tree and going up the tree. And then I could feel the energy of the tree coming through me, going into the stone. And I'm like, what the hell am I doing? What is this? So I call a friend of mine who was a metaphysical kind of guy. This guy knows his shit. And I said, Paul, I'm not a metaphysical guy. You know me. I'm a black and white kind of guy. What does this mean? And he says, Al, that's a meditation circle, he says. When you have a question for the universe, sit on those stones with your back against the tree, with your feet on the ground. You have to be grounded, he said. And then close your eyes, and you can ask the universe anything, and you'll get answers. And I was like, wow, this is crazy. Because these aren't just small crystal stones. These are big quartz crystals, like the size of bowling balls. And I don't know where they came from. It's just mind-boggling. Yeah. Now, I'm sure there are more secrets in the universe than what I was told, but, you know, that's what I was ready for at that point, you know. And I had went to an investigation like a week after that, and there was a psychic there. I known her for a long time. She's a great psychic. And I walk in and she says, oh my God, Al, what happened to you? And I said, I shaved my head. And she's like, I'm not talking about that. She says, you're radiating. She says, welcome to my world. I go, no. Don't put me in your world. I'm not in your league, you know? And she's like, you are now. And then it was an emergency. There was an emergency at the investigation. Some people had to leave. So they asked me to fill in. You know, and said, Al, my son was in a car accident. I have to go. Could you fill in for me? And I'm like, sure, of course. So I set up all my equipment, and then something attaches to me. Okay. And the building we were in was from the 1800s. Something attaches to me, and I'm looking at my equipment, and I don't know how to use any of it. And I'm like, I'm scratching my head. I'm like, how come I don't know how to use my own equipment? Like, but I can feel like there's something attached to me. So I go to my friend of mine who's there, and I said, well, do me a favor. Run this investigation down here. I don't feel so good. I'm going to go in the bathroom and wash my face. I wash my face. The psychic comes down from upstairs, and she says, what happened to you? I said, what do you mean? She says, your aura is not bright anymore. It's dark. Something's attached to you. So she sits me down, and she does a cleansing on me right there in front of all of these people. And hand to God, I felt the energy start at the bottom of my feet, go through my body, and pop out the top of my head. And when it popped out of the top of my head, I felt like my old self again. And I was like, okay, now I'm good. I'm back to normal. You know what I mean? But she said it wasn't anything dark or negative. She said it was just something that's here that wanted to live through your eyes again. She said, so, you know, it wasn't anything that you had to worry about, because I protect when I go. And I tell people all the time, if you protect yourself when you go out, you're not going to keep everything away from you. You're only going to keep the negative stuff away from you. The good stuff is still going to come through. So don't think that if you go out, I sage, I use holy water, I do holy oil, I got all kinds of crap I use. I go above and beyond. And like I said, I have an experience every time I go out, and it's never been any. And I've had 2 attachments over the years, and both times it was just something that wanted to live through my eyes one last time. And when I left the location, stayed behind, you know. But I have a second abduction experience I want to tell you about. Okay. So
Yes,
now
yes, please do tell.
my daughter is 16 now. She's older. She's in our bedroom. My son is still in his room. We moved downstairs to the spare room. We're in the spare room, and I'm
Okay.
getting ready to have 2 total knee replacements. Both of my knees are shot from walking as a mailman for 30 years, right? So I got to get them both replaced. So one night I'm laying in bed, and the light comes through the window again. Like again, I have the dog at the foot of the bed, right? The light comes through the window, and I'm sitting there. I'm not paralyzed or anything. I'm sitting there, and 2 small gray aliens appear in the room. And one's at the foot of the bed, and one's in between me and the wall, the bed and the wall. And they're going like this over my knees. Ooh. And I'm thinking, oh man, wouldn't this be great if they healed my knees? I wouldn't have to get the surgery. This would be amazing, right? So then the thought comes to me, I wonder if they can hear my thoughts. So I'm going, hey, in my head, I'm yelling, hey, I can see you. Take a look at me. You look at me. I know you're little gray aliens. And they're ignoring me. They're just going, ooh, over my knees. But one of them is walking towards me. He's getting closer and closer. This is a small, skinny little dude. I'm a pretty big
Now,
guy, you know.
during this,
What's that again?
were you scared at all while this is taking place?
No, I'm
Okay.
thinking, I'm strategizing in my head. I'm thinking like, how come the dog is not attacking these things? How come my wife doesn't wake up? You know, why are these things in my bedroom and I'm the only one seeing them? You know, last time it was the tall grays,
Yeah.
this time it's the short grays. So anyway, this one little skinny guy is getting closer and closer to me. I'm a pretty big guy. So I said, okay. In my head, I say, when he gets close enough, I'm going to grab him by the arm and see if he can make me let him go. As soon as that thought popped into my head, they both went like this. Ooh, their hands went up. They went, ooh, and they popped out, and the light was gone, and they were gone. I got up. I went out in the backyard. I put the little sensor lights on to see if there was any craft on the ground, any burn marks in the yard. Nothing. They were just gone.
No.
And after that, they never came back. I must have scared them off.
Actually not. We do have a question. Jack Mack said, did you keep the crystals? I believe that's from the story earlier.
Yeah, the quartz crystal stones that are around the tree are still around that tree. I've never touched them. Absolutely, yeah. As a matter of fact, I keep all the shrubs and everything away from it in case I ever have to do a meditation. You know, I'm not a big meditation guy. My brain won't slow down unless I play the Native American flute music. Then my brain slows down, and then I could go sit back there and I could ask the universe questions. But I still have the crystals. Absolutely.
I definitely I scry crystals the size of what I'm talking about.
Oh wow.
I was see, I was called. There's something I'm trying to find the common denominator here. I was called to them after the NDE, not
Okay.
before. Now, when I was young, I was always interested when my grandma would take me to the creek and stuff. I always loved this shiny. I didn't know it was quartz at that time.
Okay.
But after the NDE, my dad literally had these in his backyard, and I could feel the energy, and I was being called to them, and I was having visions about them, like one step at a time, and being told one step at a time, like you were talking about the voices in my head. And so it's very interesting because when my husband at the time, he cracked them open for me, and it's like something happened. I began seeing visions, and my son was living it with me at that time, my younger son, and he came home from work and he said, Mom, he said, you just explained to me every dream I've had the past year. There's some
Wow.
reason we are being called to these crystals. This is interesting.
Yeah.
Al,
Yeah.
what are your thoughts on this?
I've always played with crystals. We did an investigation one time. We were doing, it was a Halloween investigation. We're in the middle of the woods, and me and my camera guy went out the week before to scout locations. And
Okay.
as we were walking through the woods on the Appalachian Trail, we come across 3 quartz crystals set up in a pyramid shape. So I was like, okay, this will be our starting location, and we'll work back towards the car the night of the investigation. So the night of the investigation, I went out and bought a rose quartz skull crystal, and Brian had
Oh my God.
Ryan had a regular quartz crystal. And what we tried to do was we tried to see if we can video with all the cameras we had all different cameras set up on it. And we were trying to video the energy jumping from the regular clear crystal to the rose quartz. And we were trying to get,
nice.
we were trying to get energy to jump across on film. And at first, the crystals were, they were cold as ice. I was filming with a thermal image. They were cold as ice. And then I broke out a Tibetan singing bowl, and I filled the woods up with this frequency. And when I did that, and I filmed the quartz crystals again, they were white hot. And I told Brian, touch the crystals. I want to see if they're hot. They're white hot in the camera. And Brian's like, I'm not touching those damn things. And I'm like, you got to touch them. You got to touch them. It's like, I'm not touching them. And I'm like, here, take the damn camera. I'll touch them. You know what I mean? Because I want to. And here's the weird thing. They were showing up white hot in the camera, but they were cold as ice to the touch. And we were never able to get anything to jump, any kind of energy to jump from one skull to the other. So, but it was something that I want to experiment with, So I like to play with.
It's so fascinating because there are so many things that we don't know. Of course, right? We just don't know, and it is so much fun, documenting, figuring these things out, or at least trying to. I mean, the fact that your device showed that it was hot. There was a lot of heat, but then you touch it and there's nothing. I mean, that's something else that's just incredible to me. There is so much more going on than what we realize. And I mean, this is incredible.
I was going out to do an investigation with a bunch of friends of mine, and I have a laser thermometer, okay? And I haven't taken it out with me in a long time. And that particular day, the voice in my head said, take out the laser thermometer with you. So I was like, okay. So I took out the laser thermometer, and we were in this old schoolhouse from like the 1800s, and we're filming, everybody's filming, I'm filming, and I'm pointing the laser thermometer all around the schoolhouse to get baseline readings of everything. And then I'm pointing them at the people and getting baseline readings on the people. Well, a friend of mine was up front where the teacher would sit, and he was actually being very disrespectful to the teacher. And all of a sudden, he got this coldness that he got cold to the core. And I hit him with the laser thermometer to see if his body temperature had dropped. His body temperature was fine. He was cold on the inside. And I think that was the reason I was supposed to bring the laser thermometer that night. Yeah, it was crazy. I was like, wow, his body temperature didn't drop. His core temperature did. And, of course, I can't do the thermometer. Keep go through. Yeah. But again, it was that little voice. Yeah, it was that guide voice that told me to bring that thermometer with me that day. Yeah. And I had the thermal on it.
That's just incredible.
I
You know,
validated.
I've had. Go ahead.
No, I said I had the thermal camera on him at the same time, and the thermal camera was validating his body heat that the laser thermometer was validating. So they validated each other, but he was cold to the core. So it wasn't that his body temperature dropped. It was whatever it was attached to him. Yeah. And that's because he was being disrespectful to the school teacher.
Yes, absolutely. Everything is noticed. That's something else that I have found, because I learned this about other entities and other realms being able to hear our thoughts. I was laying outside a few years ago, and I was just thinking to myself, well, I guess I'm going to get up and go inside. And I heard a female say, "Okay, have a great day." And I was like, "Okay, hold on a minute." Okay, so that's when I started learning that, oh my gosh, every thought that we have. Now, I can't say all realms, of course. I have no idea.
Right.
I do know there are certain realms that cannot hear, but certain lower realms can. But
Right.
mainly the higher realms, they can hear everything that we think. So
Yes.
we get by with nothing. So if we are intending to be mean or nasty to someone, and we're thinking about it, it's being heard throughout the universe. And people don't understand that. And then they wonder why karma hits them.
Yeah.
They wonder why things. And it's like, but we are definitely being heard by higher advanced realms, for sure. And Jack Mack has another question. He says, this is pertaining to the crystals. He says, do crystals attract certain animals?
I believe that the crystals do rate when they vibrate at a frequency that certain animals can hear. Yes, absolutely. And I think when you amp those crystals up with a Tibetan singing bowl, or put them in running stream of water or something like that, I think it just really starts to radiate out there. I think other creatures from other realms will come and see what all the fuss is about. Because I've had the night I did that with the crystals, we had a Bigfoot come over to us and check us out, and we were bluff charged by a dog man. So I think these other entities from other realms can hear that frequency. But again, I believe, like you believe, I believe it, that if these creatures can hear that frequency, they're from a higher, they resonate at a higher frequency. They're not, because they're big and scary, and they're not necessarily dark or demonic. You know what I mean? So a lot of people don't understand that, and you can't explain that to some people because they're just set in their mindset. And but I truly believe that if I'm working with frequencies, and I work with a lot of frequencies now, I'm a frequency nut. I have like 350 different frequencies I play with, and I constantly change them to see how everything changes and the atmosphere changes. And the stuff that comes in is crazy. Believe me, some crazy. I have brought some crazy stuff in playing with frequencies.
Wow. I had never thought about that. I can only imagine. That's, how cool that would feel. And we have another question. Let's see. Was the entity an alien or angel? He says the one that told you it's not a dream.
I think it was a spirit guide. I honestly don't know what it was. It could have been my guardian angel. I honestly don't know. Yeah, I mean, everyone that I associate with who's a a metaphysical kind of person. Like I said, I'm not a metaphysical kind of guy. I'm a meat and potatoes guy, black and white kind of guy. I don't think out of the box. That's Brian's job to think out of the box. I think black and white, common sense kind of stuff. Everyone tells me, yes, that these frequencies, these are your spirit guides that guiding you down these paths. You know what I mean? So whether your spirit guide and your guardian angel are the same thing, I don't know.
And he also said, can crystals open portals? What are your thoughts on that?
Yes, depending on what frequency they're vibrating at, they could definitely open portals. Absolutely, yeah. You got to be careful what crystals you put together too. You know what I mean? Because you don't know how those frequencies are meshing. Because we can't hear them. So you have to have the right equipment to be able to read the frequencies that's resonating that we can't hear. So it's very complicated. I'm no expert in anything, but I've been playing with it with them for a long time now. Yeah.
I feel like energy is just so cool. When you start being able to sense the energies, I mean, it's really incredible. Now, do you ever feel like that lightning voltage coming from the crystals or anything like that, or like a tingling in your hands, fingers?
I get tingling in the tips of my fingers. I get a frequency that shoots through my head. Like, oh my God, it's just, sometimes it's so powerful. It just paralyzes me because the frequency is so strong, I used to associate that frequency with alien visitations, but now that I have so much stuff going on, I don't know, if it's the aliens coming in or if it's just things from different dimensions that can see my aura or my vibration, feel my vibration, or hear me radiating at a certain frequency. I don't know. Like I said, I'm still studying all of this stuff, and I'm like a mad scientist. I put stuff together, not only do I change the frequencies, but I'll add stuff to the environment. I'll add different aromas, I'll add different kind of things, and then see how that changes the readings of the locations, So I do a whole bunch of different things.
So, do you add plants, like things that we would call in 3D living things? Although everything to me is alive, but what we would say in the 3D, do you add plants and other living things around, or what kinds of things do you add?
I use incense. I'll go and I'll buy certain like a certain kind of incense. I'll buy, like if I feel like I want to make contact with aliens, I'll buy a certain kind of incense. If I feel like I'm trying to attract cryptids, I'll buy. I have different incense for different entities, and I find over the years of playing with all these different things, what brings what in, so.
Sure. That's very cool. I just so never thought about anything like that. That's just amazing to me. And let's see, Jack Mack says, do you remember having a past life experience? Good question, Jack Mack. Thank you.
I got one. I got an experience for you. I met a psychic. I was at a what do you call that? A symposium. Okay. And I happened to be sitting at a table with a woman who was a psychic. Didn't know her from a hole in the wall. And she turned to me and she touched my hand and she said, You've had a past life experience that you keep experience over and over and over again your whole life. She says, you think it's a dream, but it's not a dream. It's a past life experience. She goes, but you don't experience that anymore, right? Am I right? And I go, yeah, I've had this one particular dream since I was 12 years old. And then just like the month before I went to the symposium, I had, I guess, the ending to this dream. So here I am, a knight in shining armor, riding out of the Black Forest, right? Look like what the cat dragged in. I've been through hell. I get off my horse. I'm walking my horse to the lake. The horse is drinking. I'm drinking water, and I look over to my right, and there's a castle in ruins. Okay, so something is pulling me to the castle. So I'm saying, go to the castle. So I climb over the ruins. I get into the courtyard, and I'm walking around, and there's a tower that goes up, and I start to go up towards the tower, and I trip over a stone. And when I trip over the stone moves, and I see a helmet, like a knight's helmet. So I start moving the stones out of the way, and to see if this knight is still alive. And every time I go to pull up his mask to see who he is, I wake up. I never get to see who this knight is. But I got the strangest feeling that it's me and I'm dead, but I don't know if this is true or not. So a month before I go to this symposium, I have the dream again. This time, at the end of the dream, when I open up the mask, I see his face, and it's me. As soon as I see his face, all of a sudden, I'm reborn, and I got all my armor on. It's super shiny. I'm on my horse, and there's a whole cavalry of knights riding out of the woods. And they ride past me, and I join the cavalry. I get in line with them, and we ride through a passage in the mountains. And the sun's not going down. The sun is actually coming up, and we ride through this passage in the mountains, and the dream ends. And then I've never had it again. And she told me that's because you finally made it to the end of your journey, and you've ascended now, And it was crazy because the thought never came to me that it was a past life experience. It just felt like the craziest dream that I've had since I was 12 years old, But it was surreal. It really is, when you have these surreal moments, it's like time stands still, everything slows down, It's very, very strange feeling. Yeah.
Yes, on that note, I was when I was young, approximately, I believe 5 to 8 years old, for about 3 years, I was having reoccurring dreams, and one of those was I would keep being. I was in Florida. I am now. I was in Florida, but I was a child. I was probably 8 years old, something like that, and I had slipped away from my parents, and I remember the dream. The dream was always the same, and I was at the edge of the sand, where the sand meets the water, and I would be looking back and see where my parents were, and I could see the light on, and it was like an apartment, but on the beach, and all of a sudden, it was like the current got so strong, I was pulled out. And as I would be drowning, I would wake up every time. So recently, I was able to release that. I went to Daytona Beach, and I was there at night. I was planning on doing readings. However, we began getting lightning, and that's not safe with water, right?
No, absolutely not.
But but just prior to the lightning, I was set up. I was ready to start readings. That's a dream of mine, to do them at night. All of a sudden, this fear hit me, and it reminded me of the drowning. And it was like, because I was sitting on the sand with my crystals, and that's what I intended, for the water to come up over my crystals as I was reading them. But all of a sudden, I had this fear of, oh my gosh, it's going to pull me in. I didn't feel like that when it was daylight.
Right.
It was when the night hit, because that's when I had that reoccurring dream like you're talking about. I was finally able to release that. after all these years. So it was like it became evident to me while I was sitting there. It was like, wait a minute, you're not here to do readings. You're here to release this, to let this go from your past life. And I did. I did. And I braved it out and I overcame that fear as I released. Because, water, it's healing, it cleanses our body, mind, and spirit. And that's one of the big reasons why I feel like I was called to Florida. So, it's just the past life incidences to me, um, they're definitely true. They definitely are. I do feel like we do carry things over. Now, we do have a question, and I want to apologize to Lori, Fox, the cutest dog in the West. Somehow I overlooked her question, but she said,
Like,
when was your ascension and what year?
oh, my ascension was, I would say it had to be 2020, maybe now. Um, I I would say 2020 or 2019, something like that. Yeah, I don't remember it being during COVID, but I really didn't pay. I worked during COVID. I was an essential worker, so it didn't really affect me. So it was just life as usual. Getting up, and going to work and stuff. So it could have been either 2019 or 2020, something like that. Yeah.
Okay, okay. And what kind of symptoms did you have?
What do you mean? What kind of symptoms?
Did you have what kind of experience did you have with the ascension? Did you start noticing differences in like realities, like missing time, anything like that?
I felt I was more sensitive than I ever was after that. um, Especially after the psychic said that I was glowing and I welcome to my world and everything. I mean, my whole life, I've always had premonition, not premonition, intuition. Like as a young guy growing up in the city, going out to clubs, dancing and stuff. You know what I mean? And I remember one night we were in the middle of this giant dance floor, me and the girl I was with at the time, and I said we got to go, and she's like, "Why?" And I said, "I don't know, but we have to go." As soon as I got out the front door, dragged her off the dance floor. Two gangs met in the middle of the dance floor and started fighting. There was another time we were in a club called Chippendales, and she was online waiting to use the bathroom, and she made me stand with her because the women's line is always so long. And I'm standing with her, and I'm like, "You have to move," and she's like, "I'm not moving. I've been on this line forever." And I'm like, "No, you have to move right now." And she's like, "I'm not moving." And I grabbed her and I yanked her from the spot she was in. As soon as I did, a beer bottle hit the wall right where her head was. Somebody threw a beer bottle from the bar, not at her, but at somebody else. But it would have hit her right in the head. And if I didn't yank her out of line, we would have been taken to the hospital, And she just looked at me and she's like, "How the hell do you do this?" And I was like, "I don't know. Something just tells me we got to go. We got to go. I'm not sitting here arguing with you. We're just leaving. But and she was an arguer. She liked to argue over everything. So I was like, "Nope, got no time to argue with you. We got to go." So, but I've had those experiences my whole life, like growing up with like in the hood and gang fights and stuff like that. I always knew when to leave before the cops came and everybody got arrested. I always knew when to leave before somebody got shot or stabbed or something like that. My father pulled me aside when I was 16 and he said to me, he says, "You're not going to make it." And I was like, "What are you talking about?" He goes, "You're not going to make it." I go, "Dad, what are you talking about?" He goes, "You're not going to make 18. He goes, "With the people you associate with, you're not going to make 18. And I looked at him and I laughed. I said, "The only thing that's going to kill me is me. Don't worry about it, Pop," because I always knew when to walk away, where I never got in trouble for anything or got caught doing anything because I had that intuition. We have to leave right now, otherwise something bad's going to happen. And I would leave. I listened to my gut. I called it a gut feeling my whole life. And then after that ascension, I was like, feeling all kinds of stuff, like the tingling in your fingers, the metallic taste in your mouth, the pressure in your temples. You know what I mean? Like the ringing in your ears. I was just feeling all kinds of stuff.
Oh, that's a great idea. So Laurie said that this show is fascinating. You're a very fascinating person. See, I told you this.
Yeah,
This is
you know
so
what we're gonna
funny.
talk about tonight. Yeah, but yeah, no, I mean, I
And
have a lot of wild experiences. Absolutely, I didn't even get into anything really crazy tonight because I didn't want to just spend an hour on one particular subject, which is jumping all over the place.
sure. I mean, I love it being organic and just telling our experiences and laughing and having fun because it's our passion. That's what this is about. It's our passion. So we can. There's some things we can make light of. We need to because some
Yeah,
things are
and,
dark.
when people ask me, what do I have to do to, have these experiences, and I says, it's all about your intentions. I said, your intentions going in. I mean, it's so important to have the right frame of mind going in, and if you go in with the right intentions, you'll have success in whatever you're doing. And I never go in.
Yes.
I never go in thinking I'm going to experience anything. I never go in looking for anything that the psychic is going to say I'm going to experience. I just let it roll, and whatever happens, happens. And it's usually wild, amazing. Like my cousin, I started going out with my 20-year-old cousin, Sean. So his mother is part Native American. And I swear to God, this kid can hear my thoughts, because I can't tell you how many times we've been on an investigation. I would think something and he would say it right after I thought it. It was like he heard my thoughts. Just amazing. Just
I
amazing
love
stuff.
it. Well, I have what I call snitchers. Um, they are extraterrestrial. But I have found that mine protect me as long as I do as spiritually guided. As
Okay.
long as I do as they tell me, I am protected. So like, they'll warn me of something like the day before or a few hours before, and they'll be like, you know, oh no, this is getting ready to happen. You need to do this. You need to go here. Detour, things like that. And it's like, and I tell people all the time, which it's not, it's sometimes it feels like a curse, but because it's really hard because there's no secrets. If it's something that's a negative intention, if someone has a negative thought about me, then I'm told they're talking about you and I see their faces in the vision.
Right. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like,
Sure.
but it's like, it's great because it does, it keeps me protected. It helps me to navigate this life. But at the same time, it's really hard having connections. I mean, it really, really is. And then, a lot of people don't have the experience, I'll say yet, because I do feel like we're all capable. There are those that are not open yet to what we're talking about here. And so it's like, it's hard for someone, with anything. If you don't do what someone else is doing, it's hard for you to understand exactly what that person's talking about. So then when I say there's no secrets and just meaning anything that's intended negative towards me, that's what I'm meaning.
Yeah.
Um, when I tell people that, they don't take me seriously until I say, okay, I was just shown this. What is this about? And then they're like, so like, well, I did
Sure.
tell you, and
Yeah.
but do you experience anything like that?
Yeah. I call it vibes. I get vibes, of course, like I've you talk to somebody and you'll get a vibe. Like we were in an investigation one time, and there was this cute little blonde girl there, and my cousin was like kind of the same age. He was kind of hitting on her and everything, you know. And I was like, dude, stay away from that girl. That girl's got something dark attached to her. I could just feel, I could feel a negative energy coming off of her. And I said, I know she's cute and everything, and you're the same age, but I think you should leave that one alone, you know, stuff like that. Like my psychic, Cindy, she can tell, and she could tell everything that's out there by its energy signature. Okay. And I don't feel like I could feel the energy, but I don't know what that signature means. Like we were in an investigation one time, and she says, there's something showing itself to me as elves. She said, but they're not elves. These things are tricksters. They're going to move stuff around on you. They're going to do all kinds of stuff. But they're telling me that they're elves. But the energy is off. The energy screams tricksters to me. And she can feel the different energy of all these different entities that come across. And if she doesn't know what she's feeling, like if it's a new signature and she's not familiar with it, she'll get a vision of it. You know what I mean? Like she says, there's something coming in from a different realm. It doesn't know what humans are. It's not from our realm. It's dangerous. It looks like, to me, it looks like a bear squatch, she'll say, you know, that's what she's seeing, like a Sasquatch with a bear head. She says, but I don't know what it is because I'm not familiar with that energy signature, but she's familiar with so many different signatures. It's just mind boggling. You know, I mean, I wish I tried to, you know, the very first time I used her, I tested her, right? Because I knew her for like 2 years before she told me she was psychic. So then she said, I wanted to be on your team. I want to be on your team. So I said, okay. So we went to a chalet up in the Catskills that was burnt down. And I'm walking around the chalet, and she said, I smell smoke. I see fire, blah, 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 blah. And she's like right on point with everything. So I said, okay, I'm going to move to the other side of the property where there's a hunting lodge. Let me know what you feel there. And I just walked around in circles like 3 or 4 times. And I stopped again. And she said, Allie, you testing me? And I go, why? She goes, because you didn't go to the other place. You're still at the chalet. I go, yeah, I'm testing you. You busted me, you know. She said, because the energy didn't change. So she knew the signature was the same. Yeah.
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 That is so cool. And, you know, it's amazing how our abilities can work for the good, you know, with anything. There can be bad, or, you know, a lot of people don't like the word bad, but I'm going to say it. There can be, when I say bad, I'm talking about negative energy. So, but, you know, there can be, you know, negative, there can be positive. It's about anything, even animals, everything in life. We have polarity. You know, we have to take the positive and the negative. We have both. And yeah, so it's like when it comes to us having the open abilities, you know, people have to understand how important it is, like you were saying earlier, that we make sure that we understand to cover ourselves, but we also have to understand that even though we may be able to cover ourselves from negative entities, it doesn't stop positive ones. So, you know, there's a lot that we don't know. There's a lot we may never know in this lifetime. But this is why we do what we do, you know, right? And collaborate with each other and, you know, find out this neat information and share it to those around the world to help people understand. Because, you know, it's like a lot of people, the ones that believe in psychic abilities, will look at me. I've had people say, oh, that's so cool. I wish I could be like you. And I'm thinking to myself, and I'll even say it sometimes, that you have no idea the torment I went through as a child, you know, with entities while I'm trying to sleep. You know, I didn't hardly ever got sleep. I was screaming for my mom at 3 a.m. every night.
And my psychic Cindy says the same thing. Absolutely, yeah.
It's so tormenting. And it took until I literally had the NDE, which I was in my late 40s. And it took that many years to begin to release fear of negative energies. Now, because the extraterrestrials actually helped me to do that in baby steps. And it took a
Yeah.
while. Once I did, it was like it was like this awakening to being put in fear so they could feed on me, which made me angry.
Hmm.
It made me angry, realizing all these years they were feeding on me by causing that fear. So when it really hit me just right, I was like, oh wait a minute. No, 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 no. I get it now. You did this to me, you tormented me so you could continue to exist. And I was feeding you. And I said, no more. And I began standing up for myself to other entities and telling them absolutely not and making them go immediately. When they would try to come in my dreams or come, wake me up, whatever. So, but there's so much to it that a lot of people don't see behind the scenes. Yes, it's wonderful to be divinely protected. I call it divine protection. But it is extraterrestrial. It's many, many realms, but
Yeah.
it is wonderful to have that guidance if we listen, if we listen. Um,
Yes.
but at the same time, it's one of these things that we do sacrifice other things in our lives, um, if we go that direction, such as the torment when you're a child, or being abducted when you're a child, all these different things that we do experience. So it's not like it's just rainbows and unicorns, right?
No, absolutely not.
Um,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, there's a lot that um, has to bring us to this place, and it's not all pretty. And I feel like a lot of people think that it's easy, but it's not. It's just that we've been through so much. We've had to learn how to, just like I was talking about, learn how to not allow the negative entities in. Well, that takes a lot of practice, a lot of trial and error. So until you get there, it's not always pretty.
No,
Right?
my psychics, she used to read the whole team before we would go out on any investigation, and then she would say, "Okay, this guy can't go or that guy can't go because they have subconscious fear, and the location you're going there, you are going to come across dark things, and they're like a beacon to those things, and they would definitely attach to them." And I would have to leave people behind all the time, and they would be pissed, like, "Come on now, I want to go, I want to," and I was like, "You can't, because where we're going, this thing is not attached to that location. It can roam anywhere it wants. And if it sees your subconscious fear, you're like a beacon, it's going to make a beeline right for you. And I don't want that on my conscious. You bring in something dark home and then it attach it to your children or something. Absolutely not. So,
Right.
yeah.
Right. Exactly. Oh, and something else I want to talk to you about. You brought up how the extraterrestrials appeared to you in a certain way. I don't remember what you said. Please forgive me. But they appeared to you in a certain way to make you feel comfortable. I have experienced that too. Just about every time that I go on a spacecraft. Now, keep in mind, I'm a retired nurse.
Okay.
So I'm used to the white lab jackets. I'm used to the large glasses, the goggles. Okay. They appeared to me many times wearing goggles and white lab jackets. And I felt the same thing, that they were doing this to make me feel comfortable. Because I was thinking, first of all, why would they need to wear goggles? If they're so advanced, why would they need to do this in the first place? Why would they be wearing white lab jackets? And that's the conclusion I've come to. I can't really say for sure. Do you have any thoughts on
Yeah, no,
that?
they can put any image they want in your mind. I know people who were abducted on the middle of the road, in the darkness on a parkway, and racing up the road with their roof down on a convertible, and seeing a big deer in the headlights, stopping because they don't want to hit the deer. And then they wake up, the car is in the grass, and it's 6 hours later, and the last thing they remember seeing was a big deer or a huge owl or something. They could put any image they want in your head, and but they're doing that for you. They're doing that not to scare you. You know what I mean? And people have to understand that they're actually doing something nice for you, because if you've seen them in their natural form, they may be terrifying.
Yes.
So.
Well, and to bring that up also, I connect with, now they're not the blue avians that people talk about, but all I know to call them are the bird people. They're not blue. They look part human, and different races and different nationalities that we would have here on Earth. If you mix different nationalities, like one might have dark skin, one might have fair skin, one, but then they have parts of birds within their body. So they could have a bird head or human head, but the bird eyes. And it's very, very, they taught me a lot. But the interesting thing about the bird people, it's almost like with the bird people, I don't feel emotion from them. It's like they're there. It's almost like, now they're not AI, but it's a feeling like if you were attempting to talk to AI, AI doesn't have feelings to give you back. It's there for its purpose to give you information. That's what happens with the bird people. They give me information for humanity. But when I'm in their presence, I don't feel scared. Usually I say I'm on a table, but I can't really tell you that I am. I don't really know. I just know I'm laying down. So I assume, and I know we're not supposed to assume, but I assume laying on something, but I don't really know. But it's like they always have my head tilted toward the left to where I can see what they're doing. And like I've seen them show me grids, like how they plan out our lives before we come here. And it's actually like I was shown a grid. I have it drawn out. I can send that to you.
Okay.
In message. But I have the drawings and stuff. But it's like they have no, the bird people have no emotion. I feel love. I feel protected completely. I feel no negative emotion from them. But at the same time, it's not love like when we would say, oh, I love my husband or my wife. No, this is different. This is like a love that I cannot explain, but it's not, it's like a non-emotional love. It's like, okay, love humanity, but I have a connection to you, but I also have a job to do. And I need to teach you this. But if something were to happen to you, it's not that I love you to save you, because I can't allow something to happen to you, because I can't allow something to happen to you because of something that you're supposed to do,
Right.
or information I need to give you that needs to go to humanity. Therefore, you're protected. Does that make sense?
Yeah, they sound like they're a messenger of some sort, and they're there to guide you along until you accomplish your message. You get the message and you accomplish your journey. That's what it sounds like to me. And I know when you say it's like a vacant love, it's almost like a void. You know what I mean? It's like this emptiness, but yet there's a kindness to it. You know, so it's very hard to explain, but I feel what you're saying. Yeah.
I'm so glad that you understand. Okay,
Yeah.
that's wonderful. That's
Yeah.
wonderful. And let's see, let me make sure I'm not skipping over. Let's see. Okay, we have Jack Mack says, Michelle, have you had paranormal experiences working in the hospital, watching souls leave the body? Yes, I have. Yes, I have. Now, there have been many times when I was uh, working the floor because I was a house supervisor. But prior to that, when I would have a patient that was getting ready to pass away, there would be many times that I would try my best if they didn't have physical body relatives, family that would be there with them. I would try my best to be there with them as they passed. I felt a calling, I guess I would say, a calling to do that. That I was supposed to be with them to help them. Now, here's what I have to say about this Jack Mac. Most of the time, I did not see their literal spirit coming from their bodies. Okay. At that time, I could sense. I couldn't see. Okay. It was very rare at that time that I would see the physical, but I could see with my third eye, if that makes sense. Okay. So usually when I would see within my third eye was if I was closing my eyes and I was trying and asking to be shown, which I did not do that because at that time, Jack Mac, I did not realize because of the way I was raised in religion that I was a psychic medium. I didn't know until after I was in the elevator crash and I was bedfast. That's when everything started clicking and I started understanding. But so I didn't, at that time, it was more of a, because of the way I was raised, at that time, it was more of a, I'll be there at your side. I knew that something was happening spiritually, but the belief system was angels or demons at that time. There was no in between. So it it was like very few and in between when I would literally see with my actual eyes a spirit. Okay. But I did sense them. I could feel them. Sometimes I could feel them walking through me. Um, and there was always this saying that when someone's getting ready to pass, you need to open the window, you need to put a crack and all of that stuff. But I have to say, there were many times that, it being winter in Kentucky, and it was very cold. We did not have the windows open, of course. And I still felt their spirits. I could still feel them leaving. Okay. They did leave. They did go. So I don't really believe, I think to me, that's not actually always true. It may be in some circumstances with some realms. We don't all go to the same place, I don't believe, when we pass away. So that has a factor too. Um, but I can say there have been a few times that I have seen like glimpses of like clear energy, what I call went at that time before the NDE. Because when I had the NDE, I came back and it was like everything from before was enhanced. But then I had new things that came with that. So prior to that, I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know why it was happening, other than I could feel stuff happening. I could smell. But I didn't know why. And it was one of those things of if I smelled something, oh my gosh, that's a demon, even though it was someone's perfume. You know what I'm saying? because of the way I was raised. So very few times I did see spirit coming from people's bodies, but it was clear. Like I tell you guys, it's like a cheese wrapper. It's clear, but you can still see it, and I could see the energy moving. But now I did see lots and lots and lots of dark energies all my life. Okay. As far as other realms, yes, all my life since I can remember since age 3. These would be dark entities. I did see the Hat Man, and mostly it would be either at night when I was sleeping, and I would literally cover my head and have my nose sticking out just enough to get air to breathe because it was just every night. And then I would see poking like from the hallway, and like it would do this. It would like peek around, and right as I would turn to see it, then it would dodge and go back. There's something about hallways for me. Something about hallways and entities hanging out in hallways and doorways. So that's the kind of stuff that I experienced. But then after, well, you were wanting to talk about the hospitals. So as in the hospitals and nursing homes, yes, we had the doctor that, we would always see a doctor with a bag going in a patient's room. Sometimes we would see light, like a very, very bright light coming from someone's room if we were down the hall and someone passed away. But yeah, I mean, sometimes we would, and I'm not just talking about myself, there would be other people in the facility that would report seeing either a cat or a dog that was a ghost. It wasn't really there. They would see it go in someone's room right before they passed, and then it wasn't there. Things like that. But I'm going to hand this back over to Al because we only have a few minutes left. And Al, so have you had any experiences like that?
I did see a ghost cat one time. I was on an investigation with a whole bunch of people, and we were sitting down. I was sitting down on the floor actually, and the lady's house was like a museum, and her coffee table was a casket, and there was like 4 other women sitting on a couch on the other side of the casket, and I'm sitting on the floor, and I see this black cat come, just trotting in, and everybody's talking, and I'm an animal person. We've always had cats and dogs in my house, so I go to pet the cat, thinking it's a real cat, and it pulled its tail down, so I couldn't touch it. It wouldn't let me touch it, and it went underneath the coffee table, and it sat under there, and it laid down, and I said, okay, it doesn't want me to touch it. And then as we were all getting up to go to different parts of this house, I told the women that were on the coffee table, I said, listen, ladies, when you get up, be careful you don't step on the cat, because the cat's underneath the coffee table. And the owner of the house said, what cat are you talking about, Al? I said, you're a cat. She goes, what does it look like? I go, it's a black cat. It just came in and it laid down on the coffee table. She looked at me, she shook her head. She says, I don't have any cats. I have dogs. And the lady who had the house before me was the cat lady. So, and I was like, so wait a minute. I just seen a ghost cat. You know what I mean? Like, I couldn't believe it. It looked so real and so it actually moved its tail when I went to pet it. You know what I mean? It pulled its tail down. It was crazy. I was like, this is a ghost cat. And I've investigated that woman's house like 4 times, and we've always had crazy experiences there.
I absolutely love that. That is so cool.
Yeah,
but it is a thing.
Yeah, I've never seen any of my own pets come back, or heard them come through or anything like that. I had a premonition the night my father died. My mother used to get premonitions all the time. It didn't matter if she was in Italy or if she was in Florida visiting my sister. If something bad happened in the family, she would call us up and say, go check on this one, go check on that one. The night my father was in the hospital dying. It was New Year's Eve. We were actually supposed to go to 2 house parties. And I told my wife, I said, you know what? We're not going to go to either one tonight. We're just going to stay home. And she's like, yeah, absolutely. And I'm sitting on the couch and the phone rings. No, I'm sitting on the couch and I get this cold chill go up my back. And when I close my eyes to do the chill motion, I see my father in his youth. My father was a small, short guy, but he was built like a fighter. He worked construction his whole life. And I see him in his youth at his happy place, a lake we used to go to all the time. And he was just waving goodbye to me. And he looked great because at the end, cancer ate him down to nothing. He was like skin and bones. And he was waving goodbye to me. And I turned to my wife and I said, my father just died. And she goes, what are you talking about? And I said, he just came by to say goodbye. I just seen him wave goodbye. And she said, don't you think if your father died, your brother would call you? He's at the hospital. No sooner did she say that, the phone rang. I picked up the phone. I go, hey, Frank. She goes, how'd you know it was me? I said, because Dad just came by to say goodbye. He died. He goes, Al, you're freaking me out. You get more and more like mommy every day. He goes, but I was I had like only 1 or 2 premonitions in my life. That was one of them. My father coming by to say goodbye, and it was great because he was in the best shape of his life when I seen him. He was at a happy place and he was just really glad to just smiling. And then we went to both. We ended up going to both parties. We ended up going out New Year's Eve to both parties. I had this weight off my back. Felt great. I didn't tell anybody at either the party, and just had a great time, And then my cousin called me the next day, and he's cursing me out. He goes, "Why didn't you tell me your father died?" I was like, "No, it was necessary because he waved goodbye when he left." And my cousin's like, "Al, you're freaking me out," I was like, "Well, that's why I didn't tell you."
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But that's beautiful. It really is. And, a lot of people have had experiences, like that where someone comes to them. I know there's been several people that I've, given readings to or talked to privately that, have experienced things like that. And I hope that we can get to the point, within humanity to where we can speak about these instances more, not feel so secluded. Because we have to, when we work healthcare or medical or attorneys or anything where we have a job where we have to be deemed competent. Right now, it's still hard. It's becoming easier, but it's still hard to tell your coworkers or your boss that yes, so and so came to me or I had this experience, because the first thing they want to do is either immediately judge you or have you sent or have you sent to a psychiatrist to be tested. And
absolutely.
so I've dealt with a lot of people confidentially, because I understand, as a nurse, we have to be competent. Believe me, it was really hard for me to do this because I kept that fear of, oh my gosh, what if I lose my license? What if I lose my license? Even though I'm retired, I still want to keep my license.
Yeah.
I worked hard for this.
Yeah.
And, but it came to the point where the extraterrestrials, in my mind, it's time. It's time. You have to do this now. You have to do this now. So that's why I'm here. But is to help people to start feeling comfortable enough with their experiences and start speaking up. Because the more that we do that around the world, the more people are going to continue to speak up and tell each other, hey, I experienced this. Yes, this was strange, but I know it wasn't because I was crazy. Something really happened here. That way we can start investigating more. And yes, I'm not saying there are not medical issues, psychiatric issues. I'm not saying that. I know there are. But there are so many paranormal experiences that people experience. And right now, it's like it's the time for people to start really standing in their truth and reaching out, even if it's to people like Al, Okay, someone who is experienced and understands. So if you're watching this, you have experiences, you're afraid because you're afraid someone's going to say you're not competent, you're afraid to talk to anyone, please reach out to Al. Al's getting ready to give you his contact information. Reach out to Al. Reach out to me. Find someone that you trust that you can tell this information to. And I know it may be hard, but there are people who will keep your information confidential, or it will be within a community of people who understand you. Because believe me, I am just now to the point being around people like Al and Brian and Lynn and Cisco and other people that are in my life that have been in my life for several years now. Um, I'm finally starting to feel like I have a place that people are really understanding me because they're having these experiences too in some form. So don't lose hope, guys. Always know that we love you and we support you. You're not alone, okay? And I'm going to hand it over to Al. Al, if you don't mind to let everyone know how they can reach you, that would be amazing.
Yeah, no, the easiest way to reach me is on Facebook Messenger. You could call me directly, Al Santariga, or you can reach out to the Bronxville Paranormal Society on Facebook. I get all the messages, or Brian will get the messages. But any of the Bronxville Paranormal Society, other groups like the New York State Sasquatch Organization, the New York State UFO Project, the New York State Dogman Project, they all fall under the umbrella of the BPS team. And you can reach out to me at any of those locations. But if you want to just get me personally directly, you could just reach out to me on Facebook Messenger, and I answer everybody back, and I call everybody. I'm very accessible. So if you have a question or you think you want to ask me a question, some kind, you need an answer on something, if I can help you, I will. If I can't, I will direct you to someone else who can.
That's perfect. That's wonderful. And so, Al, I want to thank you so much for telling your experiences, letting other people understand that they're not alone. Because, just like me, there were so many things that you were talking about that resonated with me in some manner. It may not be exact, but it did
Right.
resonate. So, if you look at so many people around the world that will eventually see this video, who knows how many people you just helped. So that's what's so important to me. And so, I mean, I'm so appreciative that you came onto this show. And everyone watching, no matter when you see this video, please know that we love you. We really care about you. And thank you so much for tuning in. And we're going to go ahead and close now. Much love, everyone. And I want to say, always remember, no matter what, find your miracle in everything, because if we look hard enough, we will find it. Much love,
Absolutely.
guys. Bye
Amen.
bye.
Good night.